There's been a lot of talk lately about the government shutting down, and this will impact travel. But how will it impact your cruise vacation, and what do you need to know? Hey everyone, what is up? My name is Jordan. Jared is off booking your cruise vacations. This is, of course, JJ Cruise, the home for all things cruise. Thank you so much for coming into the video today. We have a very important topic that is relevant to the time that we're currently living in. And if you are dealing with any type of travel at all in the coming weeks, you're going to need to listen up because there are things that you must know in the case of a government shutdown. Before we get into all of that, I do just want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer and closer to our 50,000 subscriber celebration. Be a part of the first 50K JJ crew, and while you're down there, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Over the past decade, we have seen the government shut down multiple times, and I think that the travel industry has learned things every single time that the government has shut down. We now know that there are three important key things that we have to look out for, not only as travel agents, but just as travelers. If you want to be a savvy traveler and you're dealing with any type of travel business in the next year, these things could impact your travel. We're going to kick this off and talk about passports. It goes without saying that the government plays a huge role in getting your passport to you, as well as processing all of the paperwork to get a passport. If you're preparing to apply for a US passport at the start of a government shutdown, you just need to know that there could be delays. Now, passport agencies will stay open as long as fees are being paid. Those fees are paid by those of us getting the passports. However, the longer a government shutdown can go on, the less and less employees may be there in the office, which could cause a string of delay in getting passports. The other thing regarding this is visas. If you are not a US citizen and you are applying for a visa to come to the United States, maybe you are coming to cruise the wonderful Caribbean from another part of the world, you need to know that visa processing could also be delayed. The major takeaway here is that if you are waiting to apply for a passport or a visa from the US government, it needs to be done sooner rather than later. Even if you think that you have an extra 30, 45, maybe 60 days to get this done, once the government shuts down, you never know how long it's going to take for those negotiations to happen, for the government to reopen up and things to begin processing as normal. The second thing that will impact your cruise if the government does shut down is destinations, specifically destinations that visit national parks. Now, this is very relevant to Jared and I because we just got off of an 11-night New England and Canada cruise where we visited Bar Harbor. The number one thing to do in Bar Harbor is go to Acadia National Park. If you have a cruise coming up in the coming weeks and you're stopping in Maine, you need to know that Acadia National Park is one of the national parks that does close down during a government shutdown. Acadia is definitely not the only destination that could be affected by a government shutdown, so you're going to want to pay very close attention to the excursions that you have in the coming weeks and the different destinations that you are going to see if they will be impacted or potentially closed due to the government shutdown. The third part of this that will be impacted, and probably the largest part, is air travel. Many of you do take an airplane to get to your cruise port. I know Jared and I do since we live in the great Midwest. But if you remember a couple of years ago during the government shutdown, the government ended up shutting down for multiple weeks. TSA agents are not actively paid during that time. Of course, they are back paid once the government reopens up, but they started to get very frustrated about 2 weeks into the government shutdown and started to call out sick. This ended up in a massive cluster in the airports. If you are traveling via air during a government shutdown, you want to allow extra time to get to the airport. The other part of this that is being highly impacted is air traffic controllers. There are potentially thousands of air traffic controllers that are currently in training that will be furloughed if the government does shut down. This, of course, could result in a lack of air traffic controllers at the airport, causing massive delays and even cancellations. My best advice to you is if you have a plane ticket that is changeable or transferable, that you fly as early as possible, even maybe an extra day early, to give yourself extra time in the rare chance that something occurs in transit from home to the cruise port. Remember I said at the top of the video, you want to be a savvy traveler, so you want to be prepared for all of these things. Don't get stuck 2 weeks into a government shutdown being shocked when the line to get through TSA at the airport is 90 minutes long. We took multiple trips during that government shutdown a few years back, and I can attest to the fact that the lines were definitely longer at the airport. However, thankfully, we did not have any canceled flights due to the shutdown. There are other government workers that obviously work in terminals like port security and border control. If you do cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, those employees are very similar to TSA agents. I will say that they're saying the impact from that regard should be very minimal, but you just never know. The longer the government shutdown could go on, the more it could impact your travel plans. Thank you so much for watching, and now I turn this to you. What do you think of this government shutdown? Do you have a cruise coming up, and did something I say trigger a light bulb? You realize that suddenly you need to make some extra plans or give yourself some extra insurance to get there early? Let me know in the comments below if you've ever been impacted by a government shutdown during your travels, and if you are worried about your upcoming travels in the next several weeks. As always, we appreciate you watching. Thank you so much in advance for subscribing and hitting that like button. And until next time, see ya.